We treat a lot of workplace injuries at our clinic, and in many cases, we get repeat visitors for the same type of injury. Employers have traditionally left health and wellness to the individual employee, with work-related injury treatment being the responsibility of licensed healthcare providers through a properly managed workers' compensation program. However, many organizations are realizing that both pre- and post-injury care must be an ongoing part of the agency's overall safety, health, and wellness strategy. Hi, I'm Dr. Reel. Traditional medicine practices such as physician evaluations, x-rays, MRIs, prescribed medications, physical therapy, injections, and even surgery may be necessary. Yet I knew there had to be an additional approach to the prevention and treatment of many musculoskeletal injuries. So I started researching various wellness programs and functional movement exercises, and I found a group that I have now been working with for several years with great success. I want to introduce Lori Frederick of Balance Biomechanics.
Thank you, Dr. Reed.
Lori has been educating and instructing workers and their employers for years on the benefits of various forms of stretching and strengthening programs. Lori, please tell us more about what you do and what we're going to learn about in our video today.
Excellent. I would be happy to. Now, when we talk about stretching, or like we prefer, mobility, you probably think of this.
Wow, glad that's over.
No kidding, except the fashion.
It's pretty cool.
But while stretching isn't what it used to be, it's really changed a lot over the years, all right? It's more functional. Our movement is getting more specific to jobs, more specific to what people are actually doing and work prep and recovery. So let's take a look at traditional medicine approach and how the mobility approach really works to be more about injury prevention and preventing further harm to the body.
Okay, Eileen, I don't see any significant damage on your MRI.
Okay.
But since you have injured this hip several times, I think we're going to have to take a more aggressive approach than just rest and physical therapy.
Hi, I'm Eileen.
Hi, I'm Lori Frederick.
Nice to meet you. I went to Dr. Reel and she referred me to you. She said to go see a movement specialist because I've been having some hip pain on my left hip. And I developed it, I believe, while at work. I notice when I get up from my chair, because I do some sitting at my desk, and I also do some training, so I'm on my feet a lot. And it was really starting to bother me. And then the kicker is when I go downstairs to the other floors, then it really hurt.
I'm so glad that you came in because movement is a big part of a healing process with something that's super annoying but not emergent, right?
Okay, right.
So I love that you're referred to movement and strengthening versus pills and injections.
Agreed.
Honestly, pills and injections are easy, but they're not always successful, and they have all those side effects and all sorts of problems that go with that.
Right.
So movement and strength are a big part of things, and mostly because of my favorite analogy. I have a big analogy for the body because we're not just muscles, bones, and tendons.
Right.
There's this stuff called fascia all throughout your body.
Fascia. Okay.
And it's like a web. It's everywhere. It's within muscles and tendons and around your organs and everywhere. So think of it as a full suit, okay? And this suit, when we're really young and toddler age, even babies, is more like a fruit roll-up, okay?
Okay.
It's squishy, it's hydrated, it's bendable. You can really go through a lot and not get, broken.
Okay.
So unfortunately, as we age, we move away from fruit roll-up fascial suit and we go a little more towards beef jerky.
Beef jerky.
Okay. Beef jerky, if you think about it, it's stiff, it's not hydrated, it doesn't move well, but you can get it to move better. Okay.
Okay.
So you can get it to move better with heat. You can warm it up first.
Okay.
You can move it more. You can rehydrate it. So all those things are great. And hydration, you want to think circulation.
Okay.
So with your hip, circulation could be a great thing for it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
There's also a great mobility program that we can give you. We call it Ninja Mobility, okay? You feel a little more cool doing some motion. It's a dynamic stretching program.
Okay.
Really easy, really quick, okay? We have an express version of Captain Mobility. That's something that in a pinch, you can always have that help you out. But all around, it's new habits to get you stronger and more mobile and in better habits that set you on the right path.
Okay, good. That sounds good to me. I'm ready.
I would love to get you started.
Sounds good.
Okay, we're going to talk about mobility and movement, and I can't talk about that without talking about warming up. Because remember that we've moved away from being fruit roll-up and we are a little more towards beef jerky. Stiff, not moving very well unless it warms up. So one of the best ways to warm up that I know is with the biggest muscles in the body, and that's a squat. All the big muscles in the leg are involved in the squats, so it's an easy way to warm up quickly and help your joints loosen up with all that good circulation. Now you may have grumpy knees, and if a squat isn't your thing initially, I really like to use hip circles if you feel good on your balance, so you can start with that. Otherwise, I want you to set up for a squat with your feet about shoulder width apart, kind of straight feet. I don't want them way out. I want them pointed mostly straight. I'm going to have you sit back with your hips, so you activate your glute muscles, your big hip muscles, and reach forward. That's going to help you with your position. Otherwise, you might get out of position. So from here, we just squat, okay, to your level. You can start small and then work your way bigger, but we want to get those muscles moving, blood flowing. So after about 10, I'm going to have you try to reach up. So if you have happy shoulders, if they're not too grumpy, you reach up as high as you can with your palms facing each other. If your shoulders are grumpy, you can always reach down a little bit. So from here, same thing, sit your hips back and move into more squats. Now you may have felt something different when you reach up with your arms. You may have felt a little pull in your low back. Back off a little if it's too much, but this is because we just put a little stress or torque on the fascial system. And there's that big patch of fascia on your low back. So this is a great warm-up to move into our mobility routine. One thing about this mobility routine is that it contains a spinal twist. The spine is meant to twist and bend. It's not meant to bend and twist with a load in really crappy posture, okay? So posture is a big thing when we look about this mobility, because we're going to be twisting and opening. If you catch yourself twisting here, it's not as good for your spine. So I really want you to make sure you have a straight spine when we're going into these twists and all those other full body motions. Do you know the difference between dynamic and static moves? The conversation becomes one more of mobile versus flexible, and how you are at your mobility and your flexibility. So flexibility is something to where you have great joint range of motion, and the more range of motion you have in your joint means you're more flexible. Mobility means that you are functional in that range of motion, okay? So that's where our dynamic and static conversation comes in. The best way I know to describe this is with dancers. Now, I'm no dancer, used to be a gymnast, but dancers are really flexible, right? So if I all of a sudden work on my flexibility and I can say, oh, I can bring my foot up this high, right? Mobility means how high I can actually bring it up there on my own. So that's the difference. This little foot or 12 inches of range means that I am mobile to a point and then flexible to another point. This is important because you don't always have great function in that difference of range, okay? So what you want to focus on is dynamic motions when you warm up and when you move, because that helps you be functional through your range. One way to get an active or dynamic movement out of a hamstring stretch is to do what I call scoops. So with scoops, you reach down and up, and you can do this walking. It's a really great warm-up as well. So another way people do it is to just kind of add a kick to it. I like the scoops because you're in more control of it, whereas static stretching for the hamstring used to be sit, hold for long periods of time. I am not knocking static stretching. It's a good thing, but it's way better to do static stretching end of task, end of day. Okay, that's how you're going to get your flexibility. It just doesn't prep you well for your work day or your play. Now sometimes you might not have the time to do a full mobility routine, or you just don't want to, or you might find yourself standing around and needing something to do. So my favorite thing is the captain mobility. Now some of you may know the captain, but this is a different captain. So this is the captain mobility, in which we kind of have the same starting position, but this is a great way to warm your body up and your spine up before a task, after a task, any sort of thing like that. So place foot on something high, a bench, a rock, a log, a chair. Please make sure that the chair does not have wheels and it's not rolling around. If that is your only option, please make sure to put it up against a wall so it's sturdy, but make sure it's something sturdy. It's a little difficult to do when you don't have anything around, and it might look a little strange. So find your foot on a bench and you tilt your captain, okay? Just make sure that you're keeping your spine in good position. Not here, right? We have good posture. And then you want to reach to the inside of your foot with one hand and reach up with the other. Now you might be pretty good all the way up here and this is plenty of stretch for you, but if possible, reach down to the inside of your shoe and then you flow to the other side with your arms. And then flow yourself back, captain. Reach down and up. Breathing is awesome. Stretches you from the inside. And then rotate to both sides. Make sure you do the other leg as well. Okay, so this is the basic ninja mobility routine. I'm going to talk you through this at this setup, but know that you can do this in many different variations. All right? What we're going to go through is a lunge stance, and a lunge stance helps you set up so your pelvis is stationary while we do some spinal twists, and then we'll work through the leg stretches and hip stretches. We'll give you also a chest opener to boot. All right, so I'm going to set you up first in this lunge position. I want you in good spinal posture in your lunge. Your back foot, I want your heel down and as straight as possible. So watch that your toes aren't turned out too much, that everything's facing where your feet are pointing. So this is what I call home base. This is your home base lunge. Then we're going to add the twist. So you're going to open up your arm to the one side. If your shoulders are grumpy, you want to reach a little bit lower, or you can reach high, or if you like the feel of it, we'll reach way overhead. But this is standard. And then we're going to rotate to the other side. Now, this challenges your balance a little bit, so make sure you have a contact point here on your leg and just turn as you're comfortable. And then we're going to go back and do it once again on each side. My legs are not moving, and I'm keeping the same lunge throughout the whole twist happening. And then we move on to the hamstring stretch, which just means we're going to straighten out the leg underneath. If you need to, bring your back leg forward, pull up the toe in front, and bend and straighten out of this. This adds the mobility to it. We're not just sitting and holding. And check my posture. I'm not reaching here, all right? I'd really want your spine straight and not your legs straight. So you can totally have that bent, and it doesn't have to go all the way straight. And that gets your legs. And the final one is your hips, where we sit down, cross one leg over. If this is too high up in your chest, you just bring that leg out in front of you. Really good spinal posture. Lean forward if you need more stretch, but this should be in the hip stretching here. Add an ankle roll for mobility. Bonus move, add a twist if that feels good. And then we repeat everything on the other side. All right, now we're going to do your chest opener. So this is great when you're in the middle of nowhere. You have this option is to bring your hands out to the sides, bring your arms back behind your body as much as you can, actively hold them there, and then actively peel your fingertips backwards. And you should feel this all the way from the palm of your hand all the way up to your bicep up here. And then for a bonus, you can roll your wrists, or you can look up, or both. This is going to counteract all that time that we spend in curled in, crunched in posture, working, playing on your phone at your desk. So here's your proof that you can do ninja mobility pretty much anywhere. You don't have to have anything specific to set it up. So I'm going to talk you through this routine with the fire truck right here. You can still have a great mobility routine after you warm up. Remember, do those squats first, and then I'll bring you through this. We can step into a lunge from here, just on the flat floor, and then this gives us balance, and you can push against it, and it helps your back calf come down to a flat position on there. Remember to keep your feet straight when you're in this position. We add the spinal twist in more of an upright position. Go to both sides. Remember, you can add an additional reach if your shoulders aren't grumpy. And go 2 times to each side, and that'll get our spinal twist. And then for the hamstring, you bring your back foot in a little bit, tip over, and then we can go in and out of the hamstring from here. Remember, I'd rather have your spine straight than your legs straight. So none of this posture going on. I want really straight spine when we do the hamstring stretch. And then the big difference when you do the hip stretch here is that you're gonna lean up against something, then bring your leg up on it, lean forward with good posture, and it should stretch your hip really well. Remember to add the mobility with the ankle, knee, or a little bit of a twist. Finally, with the chest opener, it's really great when you have a flat surface because you can get your whole flat hand on here, pointing the fingertips backwards. Really good posture. Then I can take more or less by turning my body. So I can turn away more with my head and everything. And again, you should feel this from your wrists all the way to your chin. Bend and straighten for the mobility. And you're all set. All right, so I'm here to teach you all about a concept called broomstick posture. Now, my friend Jay here is going to help me out with this because it takes little props and a visual to let you know. It's something I refer to very often about having a broomstick posture or broomstick spine to help you with your spinal position. So what we're looking for when we talk about this posture, it's something that we also teach for a hip hinge in the gym or when you're lifting something. But ideally, we want to get 3 points of contact on this stick. You want to have tailbone, mid-back, and head. And you can see how Jay was missing that head contact. So I'm going to ask Jay, can you touch your head back to the pole? All right? And so somewhat common is to look up while you do this. All right? But if we're lifting and moving things, we actually need to be able to look forward. So I'm going to have Jay reset your head, try to tuck in with your chin, and be taller, and there you go. See how it's a lot closer and it's a better straight position? Okay, so right here it gives the feedback of that. Can you breathe? Yes. All right, so relax again. Another exercise that you can do to train this out, it feels a little awkward, but you want to turtle your head out, tuck your chin in. Turtle your head out, tuck your chin in, and that helps because these muscles back here are really going to stretch. Do you feel them stretch here? There you go, and then try to not move too much else, but try to bring that head back again as far as you can with a straight face. Yeah, okay, so this will be good practice. Now, one of the ways, I can't stand here all the time and hold this to him while he's gonna try to use this when he moves, so I'm gonna have this handy dandy stuff that helps put it on him. So Jay, can you hold the stick for a second? There you go, I'm gonna give you a hug, maybe a couple times. Okay, I think I got one more out of this. It's okay, can you let go and does it stay? All right, so I'm gonna fix them a couple ways. So I would rather have you here right now and here, right? So that's a little more straight. Can you bend your knees? Just kind of move, and then all of a sudden this feels really awkward, right? Because it's not something that you're used to. But if you were to reach down, like you were picking something up off the ground, right? So lean over and try to, at least have 2 points of contact. See how that keeps the spine in a much better position? So show me really bad posture and hunch from here for a second and look down, right? We lose a couple contact points. So you really want to think about these 3 contact points. Fix yourself again, open chest. Okay, take a little squat down to pick something up. Yep, so you can squat down, think about your 3 points of contact, or you can bend over forward and pick something up from there. Okay, we also talk about broomstick posture when we twist. We really want to have a straight spine when we twist. So Jay, can you put 1 foot forward and 1 foot back? That's our standard lunge. And then tilt over just a little bit, open this right hand to the right and twist. There we go. So that keeps us in the mental reminder of how you want to twist with your spine. And go ahead back to normal. And then practice at home. You can use a door frame. You can use anything else to get you used to using better posture. Now, there's more to being healthy and injury-free than just mobility and some agility. We're also needing to work a little bit on your strength and your balance. So some of you might be going to the gym, good for you. Some of you might not want to schlep yourself into the gym every day or occasionally. Some of you might feel like you're kind of trapped at work. You don't have much space. But I want to give you some options when you don't have much space, but you still want to be able to work in a little wellness exercises throughout your day. This move is going to be something that works your balance, mobility, and strength all at once. And it's good to have a little bit of contact points in your small areas just in case you're not so fabulous on your balance. And I'll show you that as we're working through, because we're going to start standing on one foot. You're going to work your opposite knee to your opposite elbow. Okay, in a tall posture, try not to slouch forward just to get that contact. I don't care if you get the contact. All right, so work your way here. It's going to work your obliques and your core and your balance. And then you're going to transition and you're going to tip forward with really good posture. And you're going to reach down to the floor. You may not get there, that's okay. And then come back up and repeat. You're going to do the same cross body action. You're going to transition. I'm lucky enough to have a balance point on either side of me. And then come back up. Eventually, you're really going to feel your obliques, your abs. I really want you to feel your leg and your hip muscles, not too much your foot. If your foot's working too hard, it means your hip's not working enough. So do about 10 or so on one side, then you're going to switch to the other side and do the same exact thing. Now you have a move for balance, mobility, and strength in a very small space. I'm going to give you another option next that has a little more space to it, but going to work you out just the same. All right, so this next move is a full body move as well. I love it when we hit everything at once. This one is going to be really great for your core especially, and your range of motion in your spine, torso, and it'll work your legs even. So all of those, we call it the bear twizzle. The starting position is this bear pose, essentially what we're starting with if you've ever heard of bear crawling. We are not bear crawling, we are just going to hold the position. On your hands and knees, tuck your toes underneath, and then you're going to hover your knees. So just this action right here is going to work a lot of ways. You want to hold your spine straight. It's really going to work your core and your shoulder stability in the front. So if you have enough by holding those for 10 seconds each, there's your exercise. If you need a little bit more and you're feeling good on your balance, then I want you to hold the hover and you're going to twizzle it, right? Twist it just a little bit. Bring your chest to face this way. Really watch your shoulder position. I don't want you sinking into your shoulder. I want a really strong shoulder here. You have good weight bearing in your feet as well. And then you come back to home base. And then you can take it to the other side. Doesn't really matter what this other hand does. And then back to the middle. And you can switch back and forth from there. If you need another level, you do the hover and the twist, but only with your lower body. So you hover, do the twist, and really try to keep your upper body still. And that's really going to work your core and your spinal twist. Love those spinal twists, right? There's something to add lots of range of motion here that we just don't get during the day. So it's going to boost up your energy, increase your core strength, and have you set for the rest of the day. All right, so I'm going to give you an option here to check your own posture, all right? All you need is a floor. We have David here helping out, and we're going to help him with his posture, and I'm going to coach you how to do it yourself. It just so happens that it is pretty common for law enforcement to have some different postural issues based on all the gear that they wear, based on their vests, their duty belts, but this is completely acceptable for any body to check their own posture, all right? So I'm gonna have David lay down. So originally, I just want you to lay down in any position that you kind of flop into, right? So relax the legs, relax the body, and I'm gonna pay attention to different spots, okay? So for me, I'm gonna be looking at under the neck, okay? And see how much space is gonna be under the neck. I'm gonna be kind of poking in under the back. I'm going to check under the knees. All right, so those are my main points that I'm checking. When you're doing it yourself, you're just kind of noticing and feeling the space. You can totally take your own hand and go underneath those spaces. It's a little hard to do your own knees, but you'll be able to feel the contact of the floor underneath that. All right, so one thing that we're noticing with David here is that there is a pretty big space between the neck. Okay, super common for postural stuff, and he also has his vest on, so that's affecting it as well. But one of the corrections that we can start doing is, David, I'm going to have you bend your knees, to have your feet flat on the floor, and from here, it just changes the gravity position of the spine, and it's going to help to reset some space underneath the neck. So I'm going to even have David lift his hips up for just a minute, and when his hips are up, he's got great space now with under the neck, and then slowly you're going to try to keep that level of space as you lower your hips down. Yeah, and so actively, do you feel any muscles activating as you bring that down?
Yes, I do on my spine.
Okay, and back on your back. So it's usual, if all of a sudden it's tilted up and now we're coaching him to be long right behind the base of the skull, down the back of the neck. Is that where you're feeling it?
Yes.
Okay, that's trying to lengthen out and normalize. So from there, the next move is once you get some space, sometimes people have a space under their low back more. It's the same coaching that I would have you lift your hips up, lower it down, and then if you can hold these two positions, low back contact, less space under the neck, now one at a time, I'm going to have you straighten your leg back out, kind of holding on to this new posture that we have. Right? And then if you're able to hold that, then that's retraining your body to be in better posture. So it's a matter of practice. Each day, end of day, lay yourself down, check where you're at. Maybe even start the day this way and get yourself on a good track. One of the main reasons I bring in the ninja mentality and this ninja theme is because I want you to understand ninja mode. I want you to understand that ninja mode is not this, okay? Ninja mode is always ready for anything, aware of your surroundings. It means you're agile. It means you are paying attention. So we've already covered some things that make you more bendy and stretchy, mobility and flexibility. So that helps in itself. However, it's also important to know your agility and how coordinated you are, how quick on your feet you can be to prevent severity of slips, trips, and falls, because those can be a big problem and big injuries. One of my favorite go-tos and an easy one to start with is to start working with your feet. And this is an easy one to progress, and all you need is a stair, okay? So this is something to work on in slow pace at first, and you get to pace yourself and build up your speed and control. One stair to start with, right? It's just up, up, down, down. And then you have the same lead foot on that. Know that you can then switch, and you should switch and try it with both. I'm a little more on my toes. I'm not putting my whole foot on the step because we're eventually going to build our speed and your weight's going to be a little more in your toes. So it's going to look like this. So you work to build up your speed. Make sure you're in control as you're building up that speed. Different modifications that you can use are different stair heights, of course. You can start small and work your way bigger. You can even use a double stair and put in your own combinations. But start easy, build slowly, make sure that you have good balance and core strength, and that's going to help you with your agility. All right, so I want to have a conversation with you about tight muscles. And Larry here is going to help me out because he is self-admittedly tight in his hamstrings down the back of his legs. Now, I want you to think a little bit differently because your hamstrings are all in the same fascial line as other muscles. Remember fruit roll-up to beef jerky and your fascial system? We're going to have a little bit of a change here on the fascial system to see if it helps Larry's hamstring length. All right, so we're going to set Larry up with your feet together, and then your fingers are going to touch, and then show me how far down you comfortably can reach. And I'm gonna mark it. Yep, don't force too much, about there, okay? And then come back up. All right, so that was a mark. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna have Larry roll his foot on this broomstick. We got it from a broom. You can use any sort of the same thing. And it's something to where if you have any balance challenges, definitely stand next to something that you have contact with. But we're gonna put a little bit of attention into the bottom of the feet. Why am I using the bottom of the feet? Well, the bottom of your feet are on the same fascial line as your calves, your hamstrings, your low back, and even the back of your head. So we're bringing the attention to that fascial line, and that should probably be good. So I'm gonna have Larry set up again, same way, yep, and then just go forward and see if there's any bit of improvement. I would say I got a little inch out of him, right? Relax, did that feel any different for you?
Felt similar.
Okay. And so it's a way to test yourself. Granted, you don't always have chalk with you, but it's the feel of what happens when you're touching your toe. You probably got about 2 fingers width of length out of that. So your hamstring tightness might not be from the hamstrings holding on, and that's the only part of the puzzle. It could be from anything along that whole fascial chain. So take a second, try this out, and see what you get. All right, so you're taking these breaks anyway. Think about how many times you're taking the breaks during the day. Why not make it more productive while you're breaking, right? Give your body something better as you're out here or wherever you may be on your break. So we're gonna add the Ninja Mobility to your smoke break or your vape break, whichever one you choose, right? You get the lunge, you can still do the twist. You pick your hand on where you're gonna put it. Whichever one is safer for everybody involved. Make sure you get a good twist, breathing, hamstring stretching. You want to counteract everything that you've just been doing, whether you're sitting and stationary or you've been doing any sort of physical work. You don't have to have a bench, of course. You can have it on the back of a truck. You can have it on a rock. You can have it on a log. Just find your spot. Remember, we can also do it on the flat ground. Get your hamstring stretch, and want to make sure to get those hips in case your low back is bugging you a little bit. Remember, really good posture during the hip stretch. We are counteracting anything that you might be doing on your smoke break to make everything a little more beneficial. And if you need to, if maybe you're a smoker and you're not going to quit. So here's another benefit to what you're doing to your body. But maybe you're someone who's trying to quit and you need another behavior to substitute in there. Start stretching. There's your new behavior. There's your new habit for when you take your breaks. Okay, so I want to share one of my other cool tools with you for pain relief, something called Kinesiology Tape. It's one of my favorite things, especially in the workplace, because if any of you have to deal with OSHA and their recordables, this is designated as a first aid treatment and not a medical treatment. So what I love about Kinesiology Tape, you may have seen it on some athletes. It became really popular in the Olympics where Carrie Walsh, volleyball player, had it on her. Everyone was asking what it is. It's a stretchy tape. So it's made of cotton and it has a little bit of nylon in it, and it's meant to stretch. So when you wear it, it moves with you, and the point is to leave it on because it only works when it's on. The concept behind it is that it's kind of the same as if you bump your elbow really hard. What's the first thing that you're gonna do? Maybe after you stop swearing, you're gonna grab it and rub it, right? It hurts really bad, you're gonna rub it. That touch sensation actually travels faster to the brain than the pain signals do, okay? So it's this fun little conversation with your brain through your skin, all right? So Stephen here is gonna help me show you an application on how you apply Kinesiology Tape. So I'm gonna have you hold this little piece for a second. We've pre-cut his strips for the sake of time, but I want to point out that you do want to round the corners of the tape because that prevents it from catching on any sort of clothing, bed linens, anything like that. And I did a different little cutout because we're working with his wrist, all right? So his discomfort is in his wrist. So point again to where it feels the most discomfort, kind of in that area. So what's super cool about kinesiology tape is science now says that how you put it on, in what direction, tension, doesn't really matter. So what we say is to make an X marks the spot of the pain with the pieces of tape. So here is how we will learn to take the backing off. You want to find a point to anchor it. Now we've cleaned his skin first, okay? So make sure the skin is clean. And then I'm going to take it to this area. In areas where it has to round some corners, okay, around the hand, you just want to smooth it in such a way where it doesn't make too many bumps. Not the end of the world if you get wrinkles. It just means that it's going to stay on better if it's smooth. All right, so just this would probably do something as well, but when we say X marks the spot, we actually cut a narrow strip of this, and so we're going to exit where his point of pain is. Okay, I'm going to take one end of it, and I'm going to anchor it here. So something about arm hair or body hair, I don't want to go too far into that, so this is where I'm going to start, and then I simply take it around this area, and now we've crossed it in the general area. Again, it doesn't have to be exact, it just has to be in the area, nice and smooth on clean skin. This lasts 3 to 5 days, okay? So depending on the brand, some are more sticky, some are more stretchy, but 3 to 5 days is really what you want to shoot for with the tape. He can wash his hands, it can get wet, just pat it dry wherever it's at. We encourage showering, showering's good, and this should help with pain relief over time. Okay, I want to share with you one of my absolute favorite tools for work recovery, work prep, play recovery, any sort of thing. I want to introduce you to something called muscle floss. Muscle floss is something that it's a 7-foot roll, 2 inches wide of latex. So unfortunately, if you have a latex allergy, this is not the tool for you. But it's something that works in the idea of compression. So as a massage therapist, when I teach people about this, if Jay here, who's helping me out, has some sort of a pain in his elbow, I would find a little grumpy spot and then say, Jay, could you roll your wrist around? And yep, add movement to the pressure. Okay, so this is something just called an active release of the muscle. So this came along, and it's something that's 3-dimensional version of my hands. So we're actually going to work on Jay's shoulder because, as we learned earlier, Jay's working on his posture. We had him on the broomstick posture, and so his tendency is for his head to go forward. What I want him to learn to do is kind of open up this chest area, and it'll help that head come back on those shoulders. So one of the ways to use the floss is on the shoulder. Now, I do have to say, getting this on your own shoulder is a little tricky, just because some of the flexibility that needs to happen. So if you do have a buddy that you can help with this, it's awesome. You put some pressure on it, you overlap about 50%. And now this is the same case for anywhere that you might use this. I'm going to wrap 50% over itself. Now this shoulder technique is a little bit different because we have 2 people. I'm going to take the excess of this and bring it to the back and have Jay hold it over here with as much pressure as you feel you want. Yep. And then this helps kind of an external rotation or an opening of the shoulder, which is really great for posture. Now the thing with floss is we compress and wrap it, and then we move, and then we're going to unwrap it. So the movement is anything that you feel that you kind of want stretched. So maybe bend and straighten your arm. That's going to get the biceps and triceps moving. This is compressing at the skin, and it's letting all the tissue underneath shear against itself, the muscle, the fascia. It really helps for circulation once we take it off, and kind of an ungluing effect, right? So can you raise your arm up? Does that feel okay to do? Yes. All right. It does restrict it a little bit because it is compressive, but as long as you don't feel any pain doing this, then find the range of motion that you like. I'm even going to have you reach behind you. Yep, any sort of motions that may have felt a little restricted before, but just kind of keep moving. Yeah, there you go. Ah, that's a good spot. Do you feel that more chest or where it's wrapped?
The arm.
In the arm where it's wrapped, okay? And then maybe like a shirt tuck in the back. Sometimes people have a hard time with their shoulders when they tuck in their shirts. There you go. Feel that kind of open up on that. Now Jay's going to notice that we do feel the compressive effect, right? We are restricting circulation. So especially here on the upper extremities, you're not going to want to leave it on very long. But so we wrapped it, we move it, and then we're going to unwrap. So gently release here. And then I'm going to take it off, and we get this really cool unkinking of the garden hose effect with all your fluids that are in this area. So it really will then help with circulation. And how do you feel, Jay, afterwards? What would, if you had to describe it?
I don't feel that tightness.
Okay.
The weak spot.
Super. And then I'm going to have you turn sideways again and work on your broomstick posture. So just kind of arms at your side. Yep. Think about that chin tuck again and being on the stick. And does that feel like it's any easier to do? I would say that you sure look a little bit better doing that. All right. Excellent. So that's a great way to do it. So then I would probably move on and do the other shoulder as well. All right, so I'm going to give you a couple corrective moves because it's really important to understand where your body is in the most is the posture that it's going to keep. So if you're at a desk too long, in a car too much, been overworking, any sort of thing like that, your body's going to really get used to that position, and we don't want it to because it's not great posture, all right? We really want to correct that. So one of my favorite moves with a foam roller is called thoracic rolling. All right, so it's for the thoracic part of your spine. Sarah here is going to help us out with this. And Sarah, I'm going to have you lay back, plant your feet, yep, with your knees bent. Lay back and hold your head. There you go, with your arms. So support your head. Try not to wrench on it. Sarah's doing a great job to keep it in really good posture. So you want the foam roller to start about the height of your shoulder blades. It's a good place to start. Now, some might feel some stretch in this position, but I'm going to ask Sarah to tip your head back as far as you're comfortable. She's got great range of motion in her thoracic spine, okay? So just come out of that and then back into it a couple of times, yep? And so you're really going to feel a lot of things open in your rib cage area and in the front. You might even feel some shoulder opening going on. Okay, one of the ways that you can work on your mobility with this is that tilt back a little, Sarah, about here to neutral. I'm going to have her lift her hips. So if you're having a hard time going backwards, then I want you to lift your hips off the ground. Go ahead now and tilt your head back, and however far you go. From here, you can come in and out of this position slowly. There you go. You want to engage your abdominals. They're going to be helpful in this whole motion to make it all functional mobility. Okay, and I'm going to have you go back one more time as far as you can. Now from here, Sarah, can you bring your hips down? There you go. So here's another way to do it, and then your hips back up. Yes, I got you on that one. So here's the thing. So now down with your hips, up with your hips. So it's just a different way to reverse it. It's whatever going to feel good for you. If you get a little grumpy in your spine area by just doing the head, try the hips. Vice versa. If you get grumpy while doing the hips, try the head. Okay, so either one of those. So you can go ahead and relax out of this. Stay in that position. Breathing is really great to do during all of this. Please breathe. Breathing is awesome. Really expanding all of that. But this is an awesome correction if you're really fighting that hunched over posture. Okay guys, one last thing to remember is to always stop and take a break on long drives. Pick a safe place to stop and take a few minutes to practice a few of the mobility moves you've learned. Not only will this help break up the monotony of driving for your mind and body, but it'll improve circulation, increase your energy, and all of that really helps prevent low back pain and driver fatigue. So know that consistency is the key when it comes to mobility and your body. You may not feel these changes right away, but the more you stay at it, the more you're gonna feel, all right? So just know if you're not very flexible, you'll get there and you can do it. Just stay consistent day by day. You'll eventually feel better and move better.